Hello my dear students, welcome once again to Zenith Academy Online. Today we are going to see the next part of figures of speech. We have already covered 5 figures of speech in part 1 video. Today we are going to see the next part of figures of speech. Let's get started with the first one. It is antithesis. Antithesis, the name itself explains. Anti means opposite and thesis means words or set of words. When opposite ideas are placed side by side for emphasis, it is called antithesis. Means while describing a particular thing, two opposite ideas or two contradictory ideas are placed in the same sentence to create more emphasis. Let's see a few examples. With a smile on her lips and tears in her eye. Now this is described as a moment of happiness. Usually this happens with all of us. We have a smile on the lips and tear in our eye. So the contradictory ideas of having smile which shows happiness and tears that shows a bit of sadness, both these contradictory ideas are placed in the same sentence to create more effectiveness of the literature. Forget me for a while and afterwards remember. Now here forget and remember, these are the two opposite words used in different phrases, and these two contradictory phrases are combined to form a sentence. To the worst or the best. Now worst and best, two antitheses, that is two opposite words or opposite ideas are placed in the same sentence. Many are called but few are chosen. Means this happens usually when we have to select some participants or any candidate. Many are called. We call many and choose only few of them. So these are two opposite ideas or two opposite phrases, contradictory phrases. Now the last example is forget and smile, then that you should remember and be sad. Now this is written in context to some bad incident happened in the past, that you should forget it with a smile and let it go rather than remembering it and becoming sad over it. So two contradictory ideas are placed in the same sentence. These are two contradictory thoughts placed in the same sentence to create emphasis of that particular conversation or sentence. Let's move ahead to the next one. It is called oxymoron. Now oxymoron is a special form of antithesis. Means the concept of antithesis and oxymoron goes hand in hand. Both the figures of speech have the use of opposite words with a slight difference. In antithesis we saw that two contradictory ideas or phrases are placed in the same sentence. In oxymoron, it is when two contradictory qualities are predicted at once of the same thing, then it is oxymoron. Means it says that when two opposite words, qualities are placed just next side by side in the same sentence. In antithesis we saw that there are two contradictory phrases. Entire ideas are contradictory or opposite, but in oxymoron two opposite words are just placed next to each other to create that emphasis of the sentence. Let's see a few examples. She accepted it as the kind cruelty of the surgeon's knife. Now here the quality of surgeon's knife are said to be kind as well as cruel, and the words kind and cruelty are opposite to each other and placed just next to each other to create more emphasis. He was the wisest fool. Now when we see over here wisdom and foolishness, two opposite ideas are used for the same person and the ideas are placed just next to each other. The words are placed next to each other to create the emphasis. He was the wisest fool. Terrific beauty. When we praise the beauty of somebody and we are very enchanted by it, we just say it in exclamation, what a terrific beauty. So the beauty and the word terrific is something bad, both are placed next to each other in this phrase. In my own company. Now here a person is said to have his own company, whereas the word company is used when you are with somebody. Group of two people make a company, but here the person is happy in the company of his own. he is alone, and plus the word company is used. So these are two opposite words placed in the same sentence. Let's move ahead to the next figure of speech. It is transferred epithet. Now transferred epithet, the name means that epithet is the quality or the adjective. It is transferred from the main subject of the sentence to the lesser important subject. Let's see the definition. When an adjective is transferred from its proper word to another that is closely associated with it in the sentence, it is called as transferred epithet. Means I am talking about myself, but the adjective that I use for myself, rather than myself, I use for some belonging of mine or something that is closely associated to me, then the figure of speech will be transferred epithet. The examples are raptured ear of men. Now the men are raptured, but instead of using the adjective raptured for the entire men, I am using it only for the ear of the men. Means only a part of the entire body is used to qualify the adjective. The next one is frowning brows of men. Now here again, brows, eyebrows, and frowning. Frowning is a emotion. You get frown, you show that expression on your face, but only the eyebrows are not frowning. The frowning quality is of the men, and that is transferred from men to brows. She passed a sleepless night. Now whenever we say this sentence, the night isn't sleepless. Sleepless is the person whom we are talking about. So here the sleepless, adjective sleepless, is transferred from she to the night, and that is why this will become transferred epithet. Content to breathe his native air. Now anybody who visits the native place is contented to breathe the native air. Now the air isn't native. The adjective native is transferred from place to the air in the sentence. So hope you have understood this, that the transferred epithet is transferring the quality or the adjective word from the main subject to something that is closely associated with the subject. Means in short, if we say the adjective is not written with the subject, but it is written with the object or the thing of which we are talking about. Let's move ahead to the next one. It is onomatopoeia. Now onomatopoeia is something that is related to the sound of the syllable. As we know, all the alphabets have particular sound in our English language. We call it phonics. Now here, when the sound of the syllable brings out the meaning clearly, or when a word is self-explanatory, it is called as onomatopoeia. There are some words which clearly tell us that what kind of sound will be made, like buzzing of the bees, beating of the drum. So from these words we can imagine, or we at once come to know what kind of sound we are talking about. So whenever such words appear in the sentence, that figure of speech will be onomatopoeia. Let's see the examples. The slow repeated tap. Now tap, when we say the word tapping, we immediately come to know what kind of sound the poet or the writer is talking about. The quick, sharp scratch, that screeching sound of the scratch immediately comes to our ears. Clamorous wings. Now here the wings of words are described. Clamorous is the sound word. Whispering till her name tumbling in 20 rings. Now whispering, this is the sound created when we are talking very softly in somebody's ears. So that sound immediately comes to our ears, how it can be, and that is why whispering is the sound word over here. Similarly, buzzing, beating of the drum, tapping of the knees and tapping of the foot, all these words are sound words, and the figure of speech will be onomatopoeia. The next one is hyperbole. Now hyperbole, the word itself suggests that something that is exaggerated. Hyper, something that is used to create more emphasis on that small thing. When a statement is made emphatic by overstatement or exaggeration, it is called hyperbole. It is a simple sentence, but we are using exaggeration to create more emphasis. That figure of speech will be called as hyperbole. Voice louder than a beating heart. Now here, a heartbeat is compared to the voice of a person talking. So voice is louder than the beating heart. Here we can also use, sometime it may appear voice louder than a beating drum. So the voice of a person is said to be more louder than the beating of the drum. So this is exaggeration. Nobody shouts like that. Called to 1,000 times, I never looked back. Now, nobody calls a person 1,000 times, but it is just an overstatement that I was called 1,000 times, but I did not turn and look back. I know of nothing else but miracles. Now this is practically not possible. We do know about miracles, but nothing else but only miracles, this is not possible. So this is an overstatement that I know of nothing else but only miracles. Means only miracles are happening to that person. And thus the statement is exaggerated to create emphasis. I desired my dust to be mingled with yours. Now, if this is an overstatement, it is just an imaginary statement that the dust of my body will be mingled with yours. Such kind of statements are only used while writing or creating that emphasis in your writing work. World too wide. Now this is a fact, but also an overstatement. We are saying the world is too wide. On the other hand, whenever we speak about meeting people, we say that the world is a small place. We meet the same people again and again. So whenever any statement that is exaggerated or used overstatement is created, then the statement becomes hyperbole. The next one is irony. Irony is when the real meaning is exactly the opposite of which is literally conveyed, then the statement is said to be irony. We also use sarcasm. This is a type of sarcasm. Means whatever I am actually speaking, but the meaning I want to convey is exactly opposite of what I am speaking. My foe, of course he was. Now, friend and foe. So we always like to speak about our friends, but here I am talking about my foe. My foe, of course he was. So this is an irony. When I am talking to the person, the opposite person will immediately come to know that the statement made is irony, it is a kind of sarcasm delivered. Brutus is an honorable man, so are they all. Now we all know in the literature, in the great writings, Brutus is always said to be a bad man, a man with bad deeds. But here I am talking of him as a most honorable man, and so are they all. Means actually what I want to convey is that they are not good men. Faithful, of course she lived. When I use this word of course, and while speaking there is emphasis on the word. Faithful, of course she lived, means she wasn't faithful, she was unfaithful, or she had done something that was like not being faithful. So this is an irony. Irony is what actually you say, but you are conveying the opposite meaning of that sentence. Wisdom shall die with you. Now this isn't possible. So, but I am talking like you are the most wisest person and wisdom shall be finished when you are gone. So this is also a kind of irony. When wisdom day be purchased with a sneeze. Means people are purchasing wisdom just with a sneeze. So that isn't possible. The qualities like wisdom are inbuilt, and it is not possible to purchase them. So this is an irony. I am talking in a way of sarcasm. So irony in short is to remember that whenever the meaning of what I want to say is said in the opposite words, what I am saying, the meaning is completely opposite of it. The next one is pun. When there is more than one meaning of the same word, it is called as pun. Now, there is a little bit of confusion in this. What does it mean? That I am using one word, but it means more than one things in the same sentence. Let's see the example for better understanding. Rest in the bottom lay. Now in this sentence, the word rest has two meanings, and that is why it is a pun. Now which two meanings does this word mean? Rest in the bottom lay. So one is the literal meaning, that whatever is remaining, the rest of the portion will lay in the bottom of any bottle or any jar. Always the rest or the remaining part is in the bottom. And the other meaning is rest in the bottom lay is whenever a person dies, we lay him underneath the earth, and that is the place where the person gets complete rest. So rest in the bottom lay. These are the two meanings of this sentence. A life worth living, is life worth living? It depends on the liver. Here the word liver has two meanings. The first one is liver means the person whose life we are talking about. I am the liver of my life. And the other word is the organ in our body, liver. If my liver is healthy enough, I will lead a good life. Means usually we know the people who are addicted to drinking and smoking, their liver and lungs and all are not that good in condition to give them a healthy life. So is my life worth living? It depends on the liver. So one meaning is it depends on how as a person I am leading my life and how healthy my liver is to support my life. The cat is near the computer to keep an eye on the mouse. Now here the word mouse has two meanings. First is the animal mouse, another is the hardware of the computer, the mouse. So this is an pun. The cat is keeping an eye on the mouse. So this makes two meanings of the same word, and it might be an animal or it is the mouse of the computer. And it is only the long rules of division. Here the word division has two meanings. First is the arithmetic process which we do in mathematics, division. Another is the great rulers which they have followed in the history, the divide and rule policy. So this is only the long rules of division. So long rules are implied to both division of numbers as well as division of peoples according to different caste, creed and based on the social status. An ambassador is an honest man who lies abroad for the good of his country. Now this statement is very catching and attractive. An ambassador is an honest man who lies. Your word lies has two meanings. First is that he is lying. Lying is staying abroad for the good of his country. We have Indian ambassadors all over the world staying in different countries. So they are staying. The first meaning of the word lie is staying abroad. And the second meaning of the word lies abroad for the good of his country is that he is lying. He is hiding the facts of his own country in the other countries for the good of his country. So first is staying. First meaning of the word lies is staying abroad. Second meaning of the word lies is speaking false. So whenever one simple word is used to convey two meanings, the figure of speech is called as pun. My dear students, hope you have understood this set of figures of speech. We will come back soon with another set of figures of speech. Please do stay tuned on our channel Zenith Academy Online. Share this video with your friends, and if you have any doubts, please write in the comment section. Stay tuned to Zenith Academy Online. Thank you.